Welcome back to the Sooner Saloon. I'm Nicholas Reed. I'm here with Emerson Campbell, and we are going to give you guys a top 5 impact players of this 2022 season, as well as a breakout guy. But first, Emerson, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. We just got a 4-star defensive back. I believe it's Isaiah Wagner. Tell us a little bit about him, Emerson.
Yeah, so he's 5'11", 170 pounds, according to 247 Sports. He's out of Spanaway, Washington. This is the second recruit out of the Pacific Northwest. We got an offensive tackle out of there as well. And or at least I thought we did. No, that was last year. So this is 2 years in a row that we've now gotten someone out of the Pacific Northwest, out of Washington. 247 has him nationally at 217, just outside the top 200. I've seen other places where he's like top 170 recruit. So he's definitely within the 250, top 250. So cornerback, obviously, he plays with a lot of confidence. Pretty long guy, and he's pretty lean already, but he's not skinny. I mean, he's skinny, but he's not like scrawny, I guess. He's got good shoulders, he's got good development. He could definitely add, like, by the end of his college career, dude, he could be 210. Like, I could see,
Go look at his highlight tape.
Some weight.
It's his junior year. He's going and he's hitting massive running backs, tight ends, but he has great hands. He plays on the other side of the ball in offense as well. But his playmaking skills are great. He has great play recognition, and he can make the toe tap catches on defense. Okay, he's a great get. He's definitely a guy that's a 4-star guy who's gonna make an impact in his college career.
Yeah, and like you said, he's it's hard to find corners that are so willing to contribute to the run game. So that's a really good sign.
Yeah, his play recognition is outstanding on what I saw. But Emerson, let's get to some of these impact players.
That moves Oklahoma to number 7 in the
over
polls.
Alabama. Over Alabama, by the way.
Yep. I don't know if that's true. I'd have to check, but they're number 7 overall, which is impressive. I mean, and they're still moving around some recruits. They're like all the sites are doing a reclassification.
I should say, so, as of
change.
Now, we're over Alabama currently.
Yeah. Texas is sitting at number 4, though.
They are, but they don't matter. They don't win anyways. Let's talk about some impact players, Emerson. Give me one of your impact players that you have for us.
Okay, I'm going to go. Let's start with offense. And first one, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say this is going to be a little bit controversial. But I think the running back room is probably one of the most competitive rooms on the team. It's they got.
Couldn't agree more.
I think any of the 4 guys, including the 2 freshmen, could start if one of them has a breakout game. So I'm going to go with Gavin Sawchuck on this one. I was talking to Nick before we started recording. I can see it now. It's like a 4-point game against Nebraska, like late in the third. And Nebraska, maybe Nebraska, I don't know, maybe Oklahoma just, had a big stop on defense. I don't know. And I can see them letting Gavin Sawchuck get a carry in there, and he breaks one for 30, 40 yards. And then, boom, he just gets momentum because he's shifty. He can make guys miss, and he's got breakaway speed, up the middle. So that's my guy. That's my first guess. Nick, what's your first?
I honestly 100% agree with you though on that running back room. It's crazy how wide open it could be. Eric Gray sounds like he's gonna be the starter, but honestly, it's whether it's Marcus Major, whether it's Javonte Barnes, whether it's Gavin Sawchuck, all those guys have the potential to take a starting job because they're that good. But an impact guy that I have. I'm going to go with Theo Wiese, okay? He's a 5-star recruit in the 2019 class, injured all of last season, had his best year in his sophomore season, having 530 yards, 4 tutties, and he's just going to be even better under Jeff Levy. with how spread out he has those defenses aligned up to him. There's going to be some wide open gaps for him to run through with that run after catch. It's going to be all day for these guys. This whole receiving core.
Yeah. That's funny. You stole my next guy. I was going to go with Theo Wiese as well. And I think people kind of underestimate the variety of his skill set. If you go back to the 2019 Texas game with Spencer Rattler, where he got benched and then came back. I mean, Theo Wiese had some dynamite hands in that game, and he was getting clutch catches on third down in tight coverage. And I think that's another skill set that he has, along with the length that he has and the kind of breakaway speed he has if he can get behind someone. Yeah, like you said, 5-star. You know, it's his comeback season. He's healthy this year, knock on wood. So I hope he balls out, and I think he will.
Yeah, and my next guy, I have one of the Tennessee transfers from last offseason. You know, you had Eric Gray, you had Key Lawrence. This guy, Wagner Morris, okay, tackle, and he was a 5-star as well. And he's had a huge upside to him that he hasn't quite lived up to yet. But I think you get Jerry Schmidt in here, and you get these guys right conditioning that they need. I think Wagner Morris has that. He's a future first-round pick if he can live up to that expectation. And he got beat out by Tyrese Robinson last season. Okay, and he just got outworked, so he's got to show some more work ethic, and I think he can be just that.
And I do remember him going in at times for like Eric Swinson when Eric Swinson had to play a little bit, and I thought he looked really good. So I'm excited about Wagner Morris as well. But sticking with the offensive line, I got to go with Anton Harrison. He's kind of gotten a lot of hype on Twitter coming into this season, and I think elite tackle play is something that's been missing from Oklahoma for a couple years now. And I think Anton Harrison has the potential to get Oklahoma back to that standard on one side of the line, at least, you know. So that's a guy that I'm expecting to have a big year, is Anton Harrison. And if we want to establish the run game like Jeff Lebby wants, then he's going to have to play well, and he's going to have to punish people. And then I'm going to go ahead and go next as well. I'm going to stick with the offensive line and go with Chris Murray. This guy has all the hype in the world coming from UCLA, transferring in a couple years ago, but he's just seemed like inconsistent and up and down. Everyone raves about his intelligence. So this is going to be like a make it or break it year for him, and there's a lot of talent underneath him. So if he gets benched, I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if he doesn't see the field again because someone else comes in and takes their job with that opportunity. So I think the pressure's on for him, and I think he's going to perform well under that pressure.
Yeah, I think this season Oklahoma has the potential for this O-line to make the next jump, kind of what we've been missing the past couple seasons. But Emerson, I'm going to go – my next guy, I'm going to go with Javonte Barnes. You went with Gavin Sawchuck. These two are both top 10 running backs. Javonte was number 10. He was a 4-star out of Las Vegas, I believe. And in the spring game, he looked pretty good. He scored 2 touchdowns. And what I liked most about him, he did get laid out by Deshaun White. I will say that. It was a welcome to college football. Otherwise, Javonte Barnes, honestly, he looked good. I liked the way he kept chopping his feet. He found the holes in the defense. And this is for an O-line that was completely split up too. Okay, so there was no consistently on that O-line, but he looked good to me. He showed his talent. So it's going to be really interesting, kind of the conversation that we had about this whole running back room is wide open.
Yeah. And who else, I mean, how many other programs can say, oh, yeah, we just got 2 top 10 running backs, and no one even talks about it, you know? And DeMarco Murray's just getting started, folks.
Yep. He's got a couple good ones in the 23 class, too, but that's for another day.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. That's a topic for another day.
You went 2, correct? You mentioned 2 guys on your last rotation there.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let me go with another wideout.
Please do.
So let's go Marvin Mims, because this is an obvious one. And I say this, I'm picking all these wideouts, and because they're waiting, okay? Last season was a disappointment. Marvin Mims led the receivers last year with, I believe it was about 750 yards. It was 705. 705. 32 receptions, 5 touchdowns. But
that's
honestly,
not a lot.
Honestly, H-backs and running backs had a lot of production in receiving. Like the next guy was Mike Woods, and Drake Stoops was the next wide receiver with like 107 yards. It was honestly, it didn't look good. It was not the standard of Oklahoma football, but Marvin Mims will have 1,000 yards receiving this season. And he's the type. Marvin Mims will have 1,000 yards receiving this season, Emerson. Don't act like Marvin Mims is no Yahoo, okay? Because
write it down, folks. Okay.
He's led Oklahoma in his freshman and sophomore year in receiving yards. That's a big deal. That's a big deal to do at Oklahoma, just coming in right out the gate. But he's productive in this Lebby offense. He will be even better than last season, and it wouldn't be uncommon for him to have 45, 50 receptions on this season. So look for Mims to have a breakout season.
Yeah, I will agree with you that he was severely underutilized last year, and I think a lot of the fan base felt that way. But and it was game after game that he just was not getting touches, and we're like, what is happening? So, yeah, I think he can definitely make an impact. He's a watch list guy for the Bolitnikov, I think, or whatever. So going into the season, so yeah, he's definitely got a lot of talent. Yeah. I'm going to go with the pass catcher, but different room for my last guy to watch, and that I think will come into form is Braden Willis. He's a big guy, and he's been very quiet in the passing game, but we saw a little bit of it in the Oklahoma State game last year. He had a really nice touchdown grab with a guy all over him, and he's already a big mamma jamma. So, and Oklahoma in the past has had elite tight end play year in and year out, almost. It seems from Jermaine Gresham to Mark Andrews, dude. I mean, they've been pretty good. I mean, Blake Bell won a Super Bowl. All these tight ends, they've had success, and that's a good. And so, if Braden Willis can ball out and be a big contributor, then this offense is going to roll. And with Jeff Lebby, I think they're going to run probably 10 to 15% more plays than they did last year. So that's how many more stats is that to go around to guys catching the ball and running the ball.
It's super fast paced, man. Super
fast paced.
So with my breakout kind of coming under the radar, not a lot of people thinking about, because we know Marvin Mims, we know Theo Wiese, okay? We already know Dylan Gabriel's going to be that guy. We already know that where he comes from. We know the relation with Jeff Lebby and how incredible he's going to be this season. So it's not even fair to mention him right now. So let's go with a guy who's going to break out this season, coming under the radar. That's Jalil Farooq, okay? He showed his potential in that Oregon game, and he showed his physicality in his run after catch. I think he's just scratching the surface. He was hurt his high school career, his senior year, and he was playing catch-up his whole freshman season. And he finally gets a chance against Oregon. That. Yeah. So it was all catch-up. So
Okay.
So this season under Jeff Lebby, it's gonna be great. This wide receiver core is gonna have a hell of a year, and I'm so excited for it, with the compatibility with the running backs and the offensive linemen finally getting their groove. I think this offense is going to take off. I don't know if it's going to be quite a 2017-2018 offense, but it's going to blow out of the water the past season. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. So you're going with the true sophomore, huh? Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I'm going to go with the true sophomore as well. I'm going to follow your lead, Nick, because I like where you're headed. I like that class. But I'm going on the offensive line, and I'm going Savion Byrd. Like it or not, injuries are part of football, and I think Savion Byrd is going to get an opportunity at some point this year. I'm not saying it's going to be an injury or someone's not playing well. Either way, he's probably the backup tackle on both sides just because he's got that much talent and physical prowess. And, man, I think as soon as he gets in there, maybe they just put him in on goal line packages too. I don't know. Something like that. That'd be fun. But, man, he is big, and from everything out of high school, he's physical. He's got all the raw talent. And I think this is around the time that Bill Bedenbaugh and his coaching start to take effect, and you can kind of see it on the field with these young, inexperienced offensive linemen. They start to kind of come to their mold. And if Savion Byrd can do that, then Oklahoma's going to have a really good player at either side of the line for a couple years. So
I agree.
That's what I'm going with.
I agree, and that's why I'm so high on this offense. You also mentioned Chris Murray too.
There's actual depth.
There's guys. We have guys on this team that not a lot of people are talking about. Not a lot of people are giving OU enough credit. So, but seems like OU always does well when we're under the radar. I'll say that much. But let's switch to the defensive side of the ball on these impact players, and I will start this one out. And this one's easy. This one's so easy, and that is Jalen Redman. Okay. He missed 5 games last season, and I believe he got injured against Nebraska. And correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe he got injured against Nebraska, which made OU switch things up. And they were switching Isaiah Thomas to D tackle, and Perion's production went down, and Isaiah Thomas's production went down. And I know we had an average of 23 points a game whenever he was in the lineup. And that switched real quick to about 29 points a game. But, he had 19 tackles on the season, 3.5 sacks, a pair of fumble recoveries, including one for 42 yards against Iowa State. The dude is talented, and we need him. He will be our best D lineman that we have on our roster as long as he can stay healthy.
That's true. A lot of people forget about the thick six.
It's exactly what that was. Besides Perion taking the soul of Brock Purdy, that was the highlight of the game.
between those two plays, yeah. It's like, God, dude. With those two plays alone, you would think Iowa State would have lost like 42-3. But, of course, I mean, it was a tight game, like every game was that year with Oklahoma. Anyway. I like Jalen Redman a lot, but I think it's a given as long as he stays healthy with Schmitty in there. I think he's going to ball out. So I went with someone a little bit more under the radar on defensive line, Isaiah Coe. All right, we've been hearing a lot of good things about Jordan Kelly and Corey Roberson, but I think Isaiah Coe. I'm a sucker for the JUCO guys. He is. I think he's the biggest guy on the team. I mean, he's like 298. So he's the kind of guy that you're going to like want to understand how to work with and stuff, like going into the SEC. He's that kind of body type. And I think if he can get an opportunity and take advantage of it, he can be a monster. And he can be a rotational guy that, produces for you when because Jalen Redman, I mean, like you said, he's injured. I don't know how, he's probably going to need, what is that? Like, load management is probably going to be, something that they want to think about with Jalen Redman. So having rotational guys in there like Isaiah Coe can make a big difference.
Sorry, Emerson, you had a little box pop up in your face that it wasn't really looking sexy, but I got you. But
thank you.
I completely agree. There's a lot of guys that can provide on this defensive line, not just Jalen Redman. We know Jalen Redman because of his name and what he's done so far. But there's a lot of production that can go around on this D-line, and that will provide, trust me. But my next guy, let's see here. I'm going to go with Danny Stutzman because he was a guy that I believe he played in about 10 games last season. Had about 38 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and a sack, which is very productive for a freshman linebacker. And he spoke with the media over this offseason, and he's ready to take that step from a freshman that doesn't know anything and doesn't know anybody when it comes to staff, players. He's ready to take this leadership role. And I 100% believe in him. He's very high motor, and he's ready to knock somebody's socks off, really. So it's going to be very entertaining what Danny Stutzman does under this new coaching staff, and with the way that they've been conditioning over this offseason, how big of a leap can he take? And I personally think that's going to be pretty big, and I think he could be a big leader for this defense and that linebacker crew.
Okay. Yeah, he seems like he's going to be a really good contributor for years to come. That linebacker room is pretty deep. Another linebacker I'm going to go with, I've been on him since he came into the class, Shane Witter. He still might be the fastest player on the team. We don't know, but he can fly, and if you have that kind of speed and you can kind of learn to be instinctual, you can get a lot of interceptions and you can force a lot of turnovers. So that's why I like Shane Witter, and I just think that, especially with Brent Venables going in there, if a kid's willing to learn, Brent Venables is going to teach him everything they could ever want to know about football. So that linebacking room will be very, very interesting to watch.
I can't explain how crucial it is to have a linebacker with speed. It's almost such an overpowering attribute for a player to have is from that linebacker crew. It's just speed, really. And if Shane Witter has that, expect him to see the playing field and get some good reps and be a dominant player. But I'm going to go with Woody Washington, a guy who was injured for a lot of the season. I believe he got injured week 1 and didn't return until November against Baylor. So this guy's he's a former 4-star, and he was the number 22 cornerback. But Woody Washington is our best corner right now. Doesn't matter if it's man coverage, pressing up on the line, or in the zone. But Woody Washington has proven himself. As long as he is healthy, he will be a huge contributor for this defense, and he's going to make the plays.
Yeah, this secondary is kind of a toss-up. But one guy I like out of there is going to be Billy Bowman. He's freaking jacked now. He's huge.
I love that.
And I think he showed a lot of promise as a freshman. And if he can learn the system, he'll be really good. So,
yep. And Billy Bowman has a really good amount of speed too. He can be a special teams guy. I know in high school he was returning punts and kick returns like no other. Just he's an athlete. He's a football player. I'm gonna go with another Tennessee transfer from last offseason. That's Key Lawrence. He's also another former 4-star. But you could say out of Eric Gray, out of Wagner, and Key Lawrence, I think Key Lawrence made the biggest impact in 2021. He played 191 snaps at outside corner on an island. He played 125 snaps at safety, and he played 79 snaps in the slot. So he's very versatile. But here's the thing. This season he can focus on strictly safety. We no longer have Darian Turner-Yell. We no longer have Pat Fields. We have new coaches. It's a Brent Venables defense. He now can focus on strictly safety, and I think that's going to be huge for him. And just wait, he's going to get his first collegiate pick this season, I promise you.
Yeah, Key Lawrence was a guy I had down as well. I didn't know he played that many snaps, and I didn't know he was that versatile. That's pretty interesting, actually. And he's shown that, he was in position on a couple plays last year where if he just catches the ball, it's a pick six, and it's a game changer. So Yeah, I think he takes the next step as well. That's one guy I like. Kind of my last guy that he's a little bit under the radar. And, I mean, at one point he almost left the team this year. Justin Harrington. I like that guy a lot. He's got really, really good length. He wanted to play corner last year. The other coaching staff wanted him to play safety. So, I don't know. Maybe he can figure that out with his new staff. But he was injured all of last year. He basically came onto campus injured. So, this is basically his first, real opportunity being healthy. So, I think if, like I said with a couple other guys, if he gets a chance and he balls out, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because he looks like he's ready to be an NFL defensive back.
I agree. We're getting limited on time here, but I got one more, and that is Marcus Stripling. Nick Benito, Isaiah Thomas Lee for the NFL. Those guys had a combined over 1,000 snaps. Stripling going into the senior year, looking for a breakout year. Spring game didn't disappoint. He had 5 tackles, 4 for loss, 2 sacks. Had a big game against Oregon when he finally had an opportunity, with all those guys opting out. He had 4 tackles, 2 for loss, and a sack. So Marcus Stripling, look for him to have a huge season.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, the breakout player, the kid that we haven't really seen a lot, is Kelvin Gilliam. He was big coming in as a freshman, and he's much bigger now. Very intimidating. So, like we said, there's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of people that can contribute on this defensive line, and I think he's one of those guys where as soon as he gets a chance and he gets his hands on a quarterback, I mean, watch out, man. It could be violent.
I agree. And my breakout guy is Trey Morrison. This OU defensive backs have just been chomping at the bit for somebody to break out. He's a transfer from North Carolina, and he's got a knack for the football. He's going to make the pass breakup. He's going to get a pick six. He's going to go hit, a wide receiver, come down the middle. And he's a guy that I think can help us out on depth and maybe even get that starting job. So,
yeah. Yeah, the secondary is like a complete toss-up right now. Like all 5, both corners and then safeties and nickel. It's anything can happen, really. So,
well, guys, that is it for the video. Thank you. Like and subscribe to the Sooner Saloon, and join us next time.
Boomer.